Good morning, YouTube. I am Bearded Ink, and today, as you have seen, we're going to cover the 3 LUA scripts that I cannot live without. Now, no matter how many times I install a version of OBS, these 3 LUA scripts always come along with me. So we're going to cover, of course, the AutoStarter. We're going to cover the advanced timer, and we're going to cover the zoom and follow. So without further ado, what do you say we just get right into it? Okay, so as always, any of these links that we talk about to these download scripts are going to be in the description below. So just make sure that you click those along and follow along with us. So the first one we're going to cover is the AutoStarter. This is a great little script that will basically allow you to start up any programs that you need for your stream or your recordings when you open OBS. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to click the little white download button over here in the top right hand corner. It's going to just download a little LUA script, which is basically just a text file with code in it. Now I'm going to save these to my desktop, but you want to save these somewhere permanent, okay? Because once you have pointed OBS to their location, that's where it's always going to look every time you open OBS. And if the file goes away, of course you lose the functionality. So you don't want to be moving them around too much, right? So as you can see here, I have my LUA that we just downloaded on my desktop. But if you don't have a specific directory that you use to store your HTML browser sources or your text files or anything like that that you use for streaming, OBS does have a default directory that it will look for LUA scripts into. So if you don't have a place on your own drive, you can definitely store them in here. So let's just show you that. We're going to open up a file explorer and go to our C drive, and then our program files. We're going to scroll down to the OBS Studio directory and then into the data folder. And I will zoom in here so you can follow along. Once we're in here, we want to go into the OBS plugins directory, and we're going to look for one called front end. So front end tools right here, you can see we're going to click in here, and then there is scripts. Now this is a lot of files to go through, which is why I highly recommend you have your own specific directory, but you can see that it already comes with a few of them in here. These are just ones that are already ready to go. It's like testing or demo style, and I don't recommend that you actually use any of these because they just simply don't work very well. So you can definitely drag your AutoStarter LUA script into here, but what we're going to do with ours is we're just going to leave it on the desktop for now. Okay, and I'm going to show you why in a moment. So let's go into OBS now, and when you're in OBS, we're going to go up to the top here. Let me zoom in again for you. We're going to go up to the top, up to tools, and when we click on tools, you're going to see that there's an option for scripts, and this is where you apply all of your Python and or LUA scripts. So we're going to click on this, and you're going to get this little pop-up here that looks something like this here. Okay, and we want to be on the scripts tab, which it defaults to, and then we're just going to click the little plus button, and it's going to bring up the browser. Now see, I told you it defaults into this front end tool scripting directory, so that's, if you want to put them there, it will be there. Now there is a slight chance that when you do an update to OBS, it can overwrite this entire directory, which means your LUA script will disappear, and you would just basically have to re-download it and put it back into this directory. It will not remove your settings or anything like that, but the script does need to be there for it to run. But in our case, we're on the desktop. The AutoStarter is the one we want, so we're going to click on open, and then as you can see, we get a sidebar here with all of our options, if any, for the scripts. Let me just zoom out so you can see the whole thing all at once. Okay, now this AutoStarter, like I said before, basically it will, when you open OBS, this script will also open any other program, application, directory, anything like that that you want open. So a lot of you, for example, may have a bot or two. You may have like things like Dixper Studio, maybe you run VTube Studio, maybe you have the Twitch integrated throwing system, all of these things that you use for streaming, you can have them automatically open when you open OBS, which is a lifesaver, a time saver, and it prevents you from forgetting to open a game or something that you always have when you go. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples and then we'll see it working in progress. So let me zoom back in again so you can get a clear shot of what we're doing. The first thing we want to do, obviously, is we want to check it that it is enabled. Okay, it comes disabled by default. And then we're just going to populate the list of executables with everything that we want to open. So you're going to click the little plus sign over here on the right, and then we're going to add files. And then we're just going to look for the files that we want to open. So in my case, for example, I want to open, say, I want to open a copy of my streamer bot. So we'll come in here, we'll find the executable file for my streamer bot, which is right here. And then we're just going to click on open. And then for whatever reason, and I haven't figured this one out, but when you make your selection, the window for the scripting is still open. It just opens, it pops underneath OBS. So if we just come down here, you can see it's still open. We can just click on it and there it is. So again, there is our streamer bot. Now I also run speaker bot, so I may want to open that up. And then the same process, we're going to come in here. We're going to find my speaker bot instance. We're going to find that exe file and we're going to click on open. And then again, it pops underneath. There it is. So you just want to populate this list with anything and everything that you want to open. Now I'm only going to leave it to these two because it will take a couple of seconds to open these programs. Some of them may need administrator access and that kind of thing. So before we show you, but again, you can add pretty much anything. If it's an exe file or even a program or an application, you can add it to this list. You can even open like directories and things. So if you have like a sound file or an image directory that you like to have open while you're streaming, you can have that open as well. Now on the bottom here, and let me zoom in again. You'll see this option to auto close when you quit OBS. So basically, if you check this button, it will do the opposite, right? So when we open OBS, it's going to open whatever programs are in the list here. And then when we close OBS, it'll try and attempt to close the programs that are on the list. Now it says it only works with exe files, but I have had it successfully close JavaScript files and other LUA scripts, as well as text files. Now it may be hit or miss, so you'll have to test that out. But personally, I do not use this option because I find that at the end of my stream, there may be things I need to do in some of these programs. For example, if I noticed during stream there was a problem with my bot and I need to go in and fix something or add something to the bot, I don't want to close OBS and then have it automatically close my bot just for me to have to reopen the bot later. So I like to manually close my programs, but this option is there for you if you don't have that problem. Okay, so once you're done filling this out, you're basically done with the LUA script. And now we're going to zoom out. I'm going to click on close here. We're just going to go ahead and close OBS. And that's all you have to do. Now the script is in the OBS build. So as OBS opens, it'll run through all of its startup features. It'll find the script, it'll find the settings, and then it will open the programs for you there. So let's go ahead and check that out. I'll just open up the tutorial OBS, which is the one we added the script to. And then you can see the two little extra pop-ups that came up real quick there. They were the command line. There is our speaker bot instance, and there is our streamer bot. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that update. But there you go. So now it has the bots are open when we opened OBS. So I didn't have to go in and manually open the bots themselves. They automatically open. So it's a great script to have, especially if you have a lot of programs or a lot of applications that you need to open and run when you stream. It's a great feature, and I highly recommend it. It's why it's number one on my list. Okay, so we're going to go to the second one now without further ado. And this is the advanced timer. Now this one's going to have a little bit more setup. So we're going to go ahead and grab the script here. We're going to download it. When you click the download button, it's going to take you to the GitHub page, which is fine. We're just going to come right down here to the bottom under assets and the advanced timer LUA. You're going to click on that. And then we're just again going to save it somewhere safe, preferably right next to the other one that we just did. And then we're going to take a look. So we have it here, the advanced timer. And I'm going to come in now to OBS. I'm going to go over to my fake starting soon screen. And we want to set this up. So we want to set up a timer, which is basically going to show on screen, and it's going to count down from whatever time we tell it to. But we need to have the text source for that to do that. So we're going to come down here. We're going to click the add source button. We're going to go ahead and just do a text. And then, of course, we're going to name it. And I'm just going to name this countdown. You can name it whatever you want. Obviously, it has to be a unique name. But once you have the name there, you can click OK. And then you can set up your text. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to select a nice little font. Maybe we'll do, I don't know, we'll pick something, not Arial. We'll pick something else. Maybe Alien Encounters. That's good. And then I'm going to change the size to like a 72 font. And then we're going to click OK. And then I'm going to come down here real quick. I'm just going to change the color to something kind of alien-y, maybe a green, maybe a little bit of lighter green. And then we want it to have an outline. So I'm going to click on outline here. And then we're going to pick the outline color. Maybe is orange. I don't know. It's going to be ugly, but that's okay. That's the whole point, right? So in the text here, you just want to give it something to look at. So my timer always ends in double zeros, just like this. And then if we click OK and I zoom out, you can see that it puts the text, the font or the text source up in the top left-hand corner by default. And then of course you can move it around to wherever you want. You can resize it to however big you want. And we're just gonna set it right here in the middle of the screen as a example so you can see it working. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and lock that down because I always do. And then we're just gonna leave the visibility on. So now we get to go and set up the LUA. So again, we're going to go up to Tools and Scripts, and then we're going to click the plus sign again, and we're going to go and find where we downloaded the advanced timer. We're going to click on that. We're going to click Open. And now, as you can see, there are some different settings over here. So let's zoom in and we're going to cover these a little bit one by one because this timer does a lot more than just countdown. As you can see, you can have it count down, you can have it count up, count to a specific time, a specific date and time. You can have a streaming timer, which will basically count as long as you are streaming and live. It will start the count when you go live. And then of course the recording timer does the same thing, but for when you're recording. But for my purposes, I like to have a countdown timer. Specifically, I like to count down at the beginning of my stream. I have my little starting soon scene so that I can run those first initial pre-roll ads and get those out of the way without taking up content. And so I normally set my countdown timer to be 5 minutes and 5 seconds. So the countdown duration, and this is important, it is in seconds. So we want this to be like a 3:05. And I add the extra 5 seconds because as soon as you flip over to this scene that the countdown is on, the countdown will automatically start, right? And so instead of having to worry about like toggling visibility of sources to get everything timed up exactly right, I give myself that 5 seconds to go to the scene and then click the start streaming button. The format is how it's going to display. And if you hover, as you can see I'm doing there, if you just hover your mouse without clicking on anything, it'll show you the different options. And it's the basic PHP format style of time. So the lowercase or uppercase letters will change, whether it's a full word or just the abbreviations and that kind of thing there. So what we want to do for mine, because like I said before, we leave ours right with the double zeros here. I just want the minutes and the seconds. So we're going to come in here because this is going to default to 2-digit hour, 2-digit minute, 2-digit second. with the colon in between each one. So I'm just going to delete that. And that's just going to leave us with the 2-digit minute, a colon, and 2-digit second, kind of like I have set up here already. Okay. And then we get to the important part. This is your text source, and this is the name of the text source that we added down here. So in my instance, it's countdown. Now, when you come down here and click the drop down, you may not see the option in the drop down list here. And that's okay, because you can just literally type right into the text source box, and as you can see, it'll come up. But it has to be exact. So if you don't get anything in the drop down, make sure that you type it exactly as you did on the source name. Okay. Now you can also, when the countdown reaches 0, you can click this little box here and it'll automatically switch to a new scene. If you prefer to do that manually, just leave that box unchecked. The countdown final text, this is what it will say, or change the text to once the countdown reaches 0. Now for me, I just like to leave it at the zeros, but you can have it say something like stream is starting, or here we go, or, you know, kiss my butt, you know, whatever you want it to say, you can make it say that. Just make sure that the text source in the scene is long enough to cover all of the words that you put there. The activation mode here, this one we can have it always be active, or you can start the timer on activation. Now, because this type of timer that it is, I want to start it on activation. Now, the activation means when the visibility is turned on, or when the scene itself becomes active. And then once we click close, you will see that it is already counting down for us. So if I were to zoom back out here and turn the visibility off, and then I turn the visibility back on, you can see that it starts over. Likewise, if I go to a different scene and then we come back to the scene with the countdown timer on, it starts over. And that's what that on activation means. Otherwise, it would start and continue and run forever until we manually restarted it. So now you have a countdown timer, but let's say you have a channel point redeem or something of that nature, where you have a maybe something like, you know, you're not allowed to cuss for 5 minutes, or you can't perform whatever action in the game that the chatter tells you to for 10 minutes or whatever. This timer will also work for that. But as you can see, when we go in here, there's only settings for one timer. All right, so how do we get around that? All right, the easiest way is to duplicate your LUA script. So what I want to do here is I want to copy this, and we're just going to make a copy of it. And then I'm going to rename this one to advanced timer channel point redeem, right? Or we'll just do channel points, something different, basically. Okay, so then we have the two of them there. So if we go back into OBS now and we click on the tools and the scripts, then we can come in here and we can see that now we have the other one, which is the exact same script. It just has a different name, so OBS will treat it as something different. And then we have our complete settings again, so we can make this say 10 minutes, and then again we can do, you know, our minutes in seconds, and then we could have this be, you know, whatever our other text source is on that scene, the alert text. Again, we can do, you know, just do your settings as you normally would, and then of course again on the start timer, and then when we close, now when we go to that scene, wherever that text source is, here it is, you can see that it is counting down. Now this was a bad example for this text source because I did have other things on there, but we can just do it like this. So there you go. So now it's counting down for 10 minutes, and then of course you can use your bots or other options to control the visibility of that. So when the timer does reach 0, you can just turn the timer off, and then you're allowed to cuss again, or, you know, turn your controller over the right way around. And you can do that as many times as you need to, or as many timers as you want to have. There is no limit. It doesn't really bog down OBS in the slightest, because of the functionality of the LUA script. It is all run internally in that text file. All right, moving on. We're going to go to our last one, which is the one a lot of you have asked about, and that is, of course, my zoom in and following my mouse around. Now, if any of you have ever watched Andy Lippy do any of his tutorial videos, he's a great guy. We love him to death. He was one of the ones that found the original zoom to follow and used it a lot, but it was the Python script one, which had a lot of problems, and there were a lot of people that couldn't even get it to work, myself included, just based on the way that the OBS handled the Python and then the way that the Python interacted outside of OBS with the operating system. And it was just a big mess. And if you got it to work, it worked great for most of the time. And some of the times it just didn't work. So we were always looking for a better option. And then there came an LUA script that does the same thing. And as you can see, this is the one that I use, and it works fairly well. So we're going to come out here. We're going to go to our download. This again will take you to the GitHub, where you can just click on the Zoom to Mouse LUA. Again, save it somewhere safe. And then we're going to come down here. We have it now downloaded, and back into OBS we go. And you know the drill by now. Tools, scripts, add, zoom to mouse, open, and then we're going to look at our options over here. So the zoom source is what you're going to be able to zoom into. So right now we don't have any zoom sources available. So the zoom source is going to be anything like a window capture, a game capture, display capture, any of those type of captured methods. You're not actually going to be able to zoom into OBS itself. Right. So we're going to just close this. We're going to leave it there, but we're just going to close it up, and we're going to go over to our game scene, and we're just going to add something here. Let's see. We're going to add. All right. So for this one, we're going to add a display capture here. We're just going to name it something special. I don't know, like something special. Why not? We're just going to have it capture this one. We're going to say okay, and then to get rid of the preview there, so we don't have the inception, but that's not going to really work, so you won't be able to see what's going on. So we'll just leave that on, and we'll deal with the inception, because that's kind of fun. So we'll go back to our tools. We'll open our scripts, and we're going to look down here, refresh, and there's our something special. So we're going to click on that. So this is now the source that we are actually zooming in on. So it won't zoom the rest of your screen. It'll just zoom in on that one. So let me actually zoom in here to show you the zoom factor. This is how much of a zoom it is. So a 2 is like 2x. You can do 3x, 4x. It's zoomed in as you want. I usually leave this default to 2 because that's enough. The zoom speed, that's how fast it zooms. So if we come out, that's this speed here. How fast does it zoom in now? You can see that I leave mine at the default 0.6, and this is pretty instant, but it doesn't just jump in, right, and make it just kind of like a jarring. It actually gives that nice little ease zoom in going in. Now the auto follow mouse is typically checked by default, but if you don't want to follow your mouse, you don't have to, and you can uncheck this box. But what this does is when you zoom in, like we have now, if I were to move my mouse, it follows the mouse and keeps the mouse in the center of the zoomed area. And then of course you can tell it to follow the mouse outside of the bounds. So if you're on multiple monitors, you can see here, like I am now on my other monitor over here, but you don't see, there's my mouse, but it doesn't follow you. If I were to check this box, then it would actually follow you to the other monitors or outside the bounds of the OBS screen. Your follow speed, the follow border, and the look sensitivity, all of these here will of course determine how much of this, how fast it'll follow the mouse, and then the follow border. This is how close the mouse can get to the edge before it jumps and keeps the mouse back in the center. A smaller border will make it a little more fluid, but it will move it around a lot more. And then of course your look sensitivity is how fast it goes to the mouse when it needs to. Okay. Normally I leave all of these on default. And then of course you can auto lock on the reverse direction. So basically this says when enabled, moving the mouse to the edge of the zoom source will begin the tracking, but moving back towards the center will stop tracking. So again, if we follow the mouse over, it'll come over, but then when I come back this way, it won't come back, right? You can allow the zoom to any source. So instead of just picking a source here, you can zoom no matter what you are focused on. But the problem with this one is if you do this, then you have to set the manual source position. And this is a little more technical than probably most of you want to get into. And because you're not going to be zooming in on every single source in your OBS scene, you're probably not going to need this. However, if you do, you can check both of these buttons here, zoom any source, and then set the manual source position. And then you can just do that and set the X and the Y, the width and the height, what type of scale, the monitor width and height that you're using in, and this will tell it exactly where to go. So again, instead of zooming in to the mouse like we have here, you're going to tell it the X and Y of the screen to zoom into. And of course, again, like I said, that is very technical. And so you really don't need that, right? And then of course the enable debugging logging. So if something keeps going wrong with your script, you can check this and then it will show up in the log scripts as to possible what's going wrong. And then the last thing we want to do is we want to set hotkeys for this. So we're going to click on close over here. Let me zoom out for you now. And it is basically functional here. So what we want to do is we want to come in here. We want to check, go to our settings. We're just going to go to settings, and then we're going to go right here to hotkeys. And I will zoom in again for you. We're going to go to hotkeys here, and then you're just going to scroll down until you see the toggle zoom to mouse and toggle follow mouse during zoom. And then to set a hotkey for these, you're just going to type in here. So for example, I could do, we can do say Control and then F3. And then we can do here, we can do a Control and a F4. And what this is going to do, the toggle mouse to zoom, the Control F3 will zoom us in and zoom us back out. And then the Control F4 is when we're zoomed in, we can stop or start following the mouse. So we're going to come down here, we click apply, we click OK, and then we can test that out by doing Control F3. Let me zoom out of mine first. And then we can do Control F3, and you can see we zoom in on this version of OBS that we have it on over here. And then of course, now we're following the mouse around, right? So if we do Control F4, we just stop following the mouse. And then if we do Control F4 again, we start following the mouse one more time, and then Control F3 to zoom back out. Very simple. Very powerful, very free. We love it. We love it. And that's basically it, guys. Those are the three LUA scripts that I just simply can't live without. So let's call it a day, shall we? All right. I hope that you learned something with that. I hope that you find use in these LUA scripts, and if there's something you find difficult about applying these LUA scripts or whatever, leave me a comment in the section below and we will get those answered for you. But also, I want to know what LUA scripts you use and that you prefer and that you can't live without. So if you have an LUA script or two, drop them in the comments below. Tell us a little bit about what they do and why you love them so much, so that everybody can check all of those out. Because as you can see, unlike a plugin, you don't have to close OBS to install these. You just point OBS to the script and it's good to go, and it starts working immediately. You don't have to restart. You can actually add an LUA script and configure it and have it be functional while you're live streaming. So have fun with them and enjoy them. And there are a lot of them out there that add a lot of functionality to things that you may already use OBS for. So there you go. we're going to call it a day. If you liked the video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hi, I'm Bearded Ink. Glad you're here. Welcome to the family. Don't forget to hit that little subscribe button down below and click the notification bell to know when I post new tutorials. As always, we go live every Saturday here on YouTube and answer your streaming questions live on the air. So we hope to see you in the next Saturday tutorial. But that's it, guys. And I hope you enjoyed LUA scripts, and I hope you learned a lot. And hopefully we can get some more tutorials out this week for you as well. We have a lot coming up. We're going to do some comparisons for OBS like tools. We're going to do some fun functionality things, and we're going to do some more user requested tutorials coming up. But that's it, guys, and we hope to see you in the next one. But until then, love, peace, and chicken grease.